Welcome back to Pediatric Case Review. Today, we explore one of the most important and challenging mitochondrial disorders in pediatric practice, MELAS. This stands for Mitochondrial Encephalomyopathy, Lactic Acidosis, and stroke-like episodes. In this case-based review, we will work through 18 carefully designed clinical questions covering presentation, examination findings, pathophysiology, investigations, treatment, complications, and genetic counseling. By the end, you will have a clear and practical framework for recognizing and managing this complex multi-system condition in children. Let's get into it. Let's begin with our first case. A 7-year-old boy presents to the emergency department with sudden onset of right-sided weakness and visual disturbance. His mother reports similar episodes occurring in maternal relatives. Laboratory work reveals an elevated serum lactate. The question is, what is the classic diagnostic triad of this condition? Option A, seizures, intellectual disability, and hypotonia. Option B, mitochondrial encephalomyopathy, lactic acidosis, and stroke-like episodes. Option C, ophthalmoplegia, retinitis pigmentosa, and cardiac block. Option D, myoclonic epilepsy, ataxia, and ragged red fibers. Take a moment to consider the maternal inheritance pattern and the elevated lactate. The correct answer is B, mitochondrial encephalomyopathy, lactic acidosis, and stroke-like episodes. These three features form the hallmark diagnostic triad that gives MELAS its name. Encephalomyopathy refers to brain and muscle involvement, presenting as seizures, dementia, and altered consciousness. Lactic acidosis reflects elevated lactate from a shift toward anaerobic glycolysis. Stroke-like episodes cause hemiparesis and hemianopia, but importantly, they are non-vascular in origin. This condition typically presents in children aged 2 to 15 years after a period of normal early development. Recognizing this triad is the first step toward an accurate diagnosis. Now to our second case. A 9-year-old boy presents with a 6-month history of recurrent vomiting, migraine-like headaches, and progressive growth decline. His mother reports that he was previously healthy and developing normally. There is no family history of stroke. The question is, at what age does MELAS typically first manifest? Option A, before 2 years of age. Option B, 15 to 40 years of age. Option C, 2 to 15 years of age. Option D, after 40 years of age. Consider the typical timing of symptom onset in this mitochondrial disorder. The correct answer is C, 2 to 15 years of age. MELAS characteristically manifests after a period of normal early development, with onset spanning early childhood through adolescence. The peak onset occurs during the school-age years. This pattern is clinically important because affected children usually appear entirely healthy in infancy and early toddler years, then begin to show symptoms such as vomiting, headaches, and growth decline. A previously normal child who develops these progressive features should raise suspicion for a mitochondrial disorder, even when there is no obvious family history of stroke. Our third case. An 11-year-old boy presents with sudden onset cortical blindness and left-sided hemiparesis. His mother reports a similar episode 2 years ago. Brain imaging is currently pending. The question is, what is a defining characteristic of the stroke-like lesions in MELAS? Option A, lesions follow the middle cerebral artery territory. Option B, lesions are always unilateral and hemorrhagic. Option C, lesions are confined to the basal ganglia. Option D, lesions do not conform to vascular territories. Think carefully about the underlying mechanism of these episodes. The correct answer is D. Lesions do not conform to vascular territories. In MELAS, stroke-like episodes arise from mitochondrial dysfunction, not from thrombosis or blood vessel occlusion. As a result, the lesions on imaging cross vascular boundaries, favoring the occipital and parietal cortex, rather than respecting a single arterial supply. This is a critical distinction. Because the mechanism is cytopathic and angiopathic rather than thromboembolic, tissue plasminogen activator is not indicated. Treating these episodes as an ordinary ischemic stroke would be inappropriate and potentially harmful. The non-vascular distribution is one of the most useful diagnostic clues. Our fourth case. An 8-year-old boy is referred for evaluation of fatigue and difficulty keeping up with peers during physical activity. His mother reports that he tires easily, struggles to climb stairs, and cannot run as long as his classmates. On examination, you note difficulty rising from the floor. Reflexes are intact. The question is, which muscular finding is most likely on physical examination? Option A, proximal muscle weakness with exercise intolerance. Option B, distal muscle wasting with foot drop. Option C, fasciculations and hyperreflexia. Option D, facial diplegia and ptosis. The correct answer is A, proximal muscle weakness with exercise intolerance. Myopathy is a hallmark feature of mitochondrial disease, and in MELAS, it predominantly affects the shoulder and pelvic girdle muscles. This explains why affected children have difficulty raising their arms, climbing stairs, and rising from the floor. The weakness characteristically worsens with metabolic stress or intercurrent illness because muscle has a high energy demand that the failing mitochondria cannot meet. Exercise intolerance and easy fatigue are early and important clues. Reflexes typically remain intact, which helps distinguish this from a primary nerve disorder. Our fifth case. A 9-year-old girl presents with a 6-month history of declining school performance, new-onset seizures, and recurrent vomiting. Her mother notes she has always been short for her age. On examination, she has bilateral sensory neural hearing loss, confirmed on audiogram. Her maternal uncle has type 2 diabetes and wears hearing aids. The question is, which combination of associated features best supports a diagnosis of MELAS? Option A, proximal muscle weakness, exercise intolerance, and elevated creatinine kinase. Option B, progressive external ophthalmoplegia, retinitis pigmentosa, and heart block. Option C, short stature, sensory neural hearing loss, and cognitive decline. Option D, myoclonic seizures, ataxia, and ragged red fibers on biopsy. The correct answer is C, short stature, sensory neural hearing loss, and cognitive decline. These are the classic associated features of MELAS that extend beyond the core triad. Short stature reflects growth failure and is a common early sign. Sensory neural hearing loss is progressive and affects the majority of patients. Cognitive decline manifests as a progressive dementia, often becoming apparent in adolescence. The maternal family history of diabetes and deafness in this case is a powerful additional clue because these features cluster along the maternal line. Together, this combination strongly points toward a mitochondrial disorder. Our sixth case. A 10-year-old boy presents with recurrent stroke-like episodes, proximal muscle weakness, and bilateral sensory neural hearing loss. His mother has a history of diabetes mellitus and early-onset deafness. Genetic testing is ordered to confirm the suspected diagnosis. The question is, which mutation is most frequently identified in patients with MELAS syndrome? Option A, the M.3243A to G mutation in the MTTL1 gene. Option B, the M.8344A to G mutation in the MTTK gene. Option C, deletion of mitochondrial DNA segments of 4 to 5 kilobases. Option D, the M.3271T to C mutation in the MTTL1 gene. The correct answer is A, the M3243A to G mutation in the MTTL1 gene. This single-point mutation accounts for approximately 80% of all MELAS cases, making it by far the most common cause. The second most common mutation is M3271T to C, found in roughly 10% of patients. An important practical point relates to testing. Blood mitochondrial DNA testing may yield false negative results, so urinary sediment or buccal mucosa are preferred samples because they retain a higher mutant load. A higher mutant load generally correlates with more severe disease. Our seventh case. A 10-year-old boy with known MELAS syndrome presents with recurrent stroke-like episodes, severe fatigue, and a markedly elevated serum lactate. His neurologist explains that his symptoms stem from a fundamental failure in cellular energy production. The question is, what is the primary underlying biochemical defect responsible for the clinical manifestations of MELAS? Option A, defective lysosomal enzyme activity. Option B, abnormal peroxisomal fatty acid oxidation. Option C, impaired oxidative phosphorylation and reduced energy production. Option D, efficiency of cytoplasmic ribosomes. The correct answer is C, impaired oxidative phosphorylation and reduced energy production. The transfer RNA mutation in MELAS disrupts assembly of the respiratory chain complexes on the inner mitochondrial membrane. This reduces production of adenosine triphosphate, the cell's main energy currency, and forces the cell to rely on anaerobic glycolysis, which generates excess lactate and causes lactic acidosis. Neurons and muscle cells are the most vulnerable tissues because they have very high energy demands. This single biochemical failure explains the encephalopathy, the myopathy, and the lactic acidosis seen across the syndrome. Our eighth case. An 8-year-old boy presents with recurrent vomiting, fatigue, and a recent episode of altered consciousness. His neurologist suspects a mitochondrial disorder. The question is, which laboratory finding in the serum or cerebrospinal fluid is highly suggestive of MELAS? Option A, an elevated lactate to pyruvate ratio in serum and cerebrospinal fluid. Option B, elevated serum ammonia with a normal lactate. Option C, decreased serum glucose with ketonemia. Option D, elevated serum creatinine with proteinuria. The correct answer is A, an elevated lactate to pyruvate ratio in serum and cerebrospinal fluid. A ratio greater than 20:1 indicates impaired oxidative phosphorylation. For reference, the normal ratio is below 10:1, while in MELAS it characteristically rises above 20:1. This elevated ratio reflects the shift toward anaerobic metabolism that occurs when the respiratory chain cannot function properly. Measuring this ratio in both serum and cerebrospinal fluid is valuable because central nervous system involvement may be reflected even when peripheral values are borderline. It is a simple but powerful diagnostic marker. Our 9th case. An 8-year-old boy with suspected MELAS undergoes blood mitochondrial DNA testing, which returns negative. His neurologist maintains a high clinical suspicion based on stroke-like episodes, lactic acidosis, and a maternal family history of diabetes and deafness. The question is, which alternative tissues are preferred for confirming the genetic diagnosis? Option A, cerebrospinal fluid. Option B, peripheral blood lymphocytes only. Option C, urinary sediment or buccal mucosa. Option D, liver biopsy tissue. The correct answer is C, urinary sediment or buccal mucosa. Blood mitochondrial DNA testing may yield false negatives because there is an age-related decline in mutant heteroplasmy within blood cells. In contrast, a higher mutant mitochondrial DNA load is preserved in urinary epithelial cells and in buccal cells. This makes these tissues much more reliable for confirming the diagnosis. Both samples have the added advantage of being non-invasive, which is especially valuable in children. A negative blood test should never rule out MELAS when clinical suspicion remains high. Always pursue these alternative tissues. Our 10th case. An 11-year-old girl with known MELAS presents with acute onset cortical blindness and right-sided hemiparesis. An urgent brain magnetic resonance imaging is performed during the acute episode. The question is, what are the classic imaging findings expected in this patient? Option A, diffuse white matter hyperintensities following watershed zones. Option B, lacunar infarcts in the basal ganglia and internal capsule. Option C, a unilateral middle cerebral artery territory infarct